here at this location. It's said that Donald Cargill, a famous Presbyterian minister and Covenanter, jumped across the River Ericht to flee the government troops of King Charles II, who wanted him to be put on trial and put to death for treason. The story of Donald Cargill is complex, long and full of adventure. I will be focusing on the key points that led Cargill to make the famous jump here across the River Ericht between Blairgowrie and Rattray in Perthshire, in order to escape the Royalist soldiers who were determined to put him in chains and have him stand trial for his crimes.
Fly me up on a silver wing, past the black where the sirens sing. Warm me up in an over's glow and drop me down to the dream below. 'Cause I'm only a crack in the sky.
Donald Cargill was born in Rattray, a small village in Perthshire that is connected to the town of Blairgowrie via the River Ericht bridge. He was born in 1619 and was the eldest son of Lawrence Cargill of Bonnyton and Marjorie Blair. During his life, he was dedicated to his faith and had many followers. However, on the 29th of May 1662, a day of thanksgiving set aside for the restoration of King Charles II, he read out the following to his startled congregation: "We are not here to keep this day upon the account for which others keep it. We thought once to have blessed the day wherein the King came home again. But now we think we shall have reason to curse it. And if any of you come here in order to do the solemnizing of this day, we desire you to remove." Following this, he was dismissed from his position as it was an act of aggression against the king and the royalist powers of the time. The Scottish Presbyterian Covenanters wanted not only religious freedom, but freedom of speech. This was something not granted to them, despite the fact that King Charles II was Protestant himself. As with all things religious, there's very little agreement between different factions of any faith, and this caused much upset and violence in the coming years. On the 22nd of June 1679, Donald fought and was wounded at the Battle of Bothwell Bridge, a short battle between the Presbyterian Covenanters and the Royalists. The battle raged on for around an hour, but the Covenanters lost and were declared rebels, traitors and outlaws. It was to put an end to the short rebellion. Many were taken prisoner, believed to be around 1,200 strong, and following their trial, many were sent to the colonies abroad. It's said that Cargill escaped and fled to the Netherlands for a period before returning back to Scotland in 1680. His troubles were far from over. As an outlaw and a wanted man, he continued his struggle regardless of the consequences. In Torwood, an area between Stirling and Falkirk, he pronounced a solemn sentence of excommunication against the king. It was this that prompted a larger reward for the capture of Donald Cargill. Now, this brings us here to the crossing over the River Ericht. It was here where Cargill made his famous escape from the troops who were determined to capture him and have him put on trial as a traitor. Little is known of exactly where this pursuit started, clearly within the locale of Blairgowrie and Rattray, but he made a run for it and arrived here at one side of the river. I can only imagine the desperation he must have felt to evade capture, knowing only too well that if he was to be captured, he would likely be executed for his deeds. The story goes that he ran here and jumped from one side of the river to the next, landing on a protruding rock on the other side. Folklore has it that some of the Royalist soldiers attempted to follow in Cargill's stead and attempted to jump the expanse of water. However, with the weight of their uniforms and weaponry, this made the jump impossible, and several fell into the river, and Donald Cargill made good his escape. At many points along the River Ericht, the water is deep and there are strong underwater currents that can pull a person under and trap them beneath the rock shelves located under the surface, with very little hope of escape. There's folklore that the soldiers who fell in the river chasing Donald Cargill were pulled under the water, drowned, and not to be seen again. There have been many modern accounts of people having been swept under by the seemingly calm waters of the River Ericht, and have unfortunately lost their lives. The width of the river that you see here now is not how it was in Cargill's day. With the number of incidents and deaths that have occurred here in modern times, and in the past at Cargill's Leap, with people attempting to jump the famous landmark, the leap was partly destroyed in order to make the attempted jump impossible. As a born and bred Blairgowrie man myself, I've known many people from my youth who attempted the jump and failed. A friend from my school years didn't manage to make the jump and fell into the water, but was lucky enough to escape. He talked of the underwater currents pulling at him, but luckily he managed to get out alive. Not all are so lucky. Donald Cargill made several daring escapes from the authorities, but was eventually captured and put on trial. He was sentenced to death and hanged in Edinburgh on the 27th of July 1681. His legacy lives on here, his name forever attached to this place and in Scottish history. There's also a small monument located in Rattray in remembrance of Donald Cargill. There is much to be said about his life. It runs long and deep, too long for a short history video such as this one. But if this has piqued your interest, there is much to read online covering the life of Donald Cargill, a man with an extraordinary life and tale to tell.
Take me down to the riverbed, take me down to the fighting end. Wash the poison from off my skin, show me how to be whole again. Fly me up on a silver wing, past the black where the sirens sing. Warm me up in an Nova's glow, and drop me down to the dream below. 'Cause I'm only a crack in this castle of glass, hardly anything there for you to see, for you to see. castle of glass, hardly anything else I need to be. 'Cause I'm only a crack in this castle of glass, hardly anything there for you to see, for you to see, for you to see.
If you've enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to my channel and press the bell notification to the right of the subscribe button. That way you'll be informed when the next of my videos will be available. The surrounding area of Blairgowrie and Rattray are well worth a visit. With many historical places to visit, the walks along the River Ericht are stunning. A nice day out for your own adventure, and perhaps a picnic to polish the day off whilst you are here. Be sure to visit and look over the river at Cargill's Leap and let your imagination run free and imagine the events that occurred here and all that followed in Donald Cargill's life. A man with a story to be told and for you to contemplate as you watch the River Ericht gently flow by your feet. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.